So here we are in the code of the Yesteryear Antiques program, and basically I have an item class here, nothing that you haven't seen before. We have some private data members or instance variables for the item name, year, and so on. Of course, the photo. And we have a couple of overloaded constructors here, the default constructor and then the parameterized constructor to initialize each of those private data members. And then, of course, gets and sets for each of the data members. Okay, so going over to the form class here, I'm just going to double click in a blank area and we'll take a look at the form class. Here's the list that I was talking about, the list from the collection class and the framework class library. And basically, it's like an array, but the syntax is a little different, so we're creating a list object, and we put the type. This is a list of type item. We have a list of item objects or antique objects based on the item class, and so you put the data type in angle brackets like that, and that's it. And then you give your list a name, just like you would an array, and then you're kind of home free. You could specify a size. For example, if I had 10 items, that's fine. If you don't specify, then you get 8 items or 8 elements by default. And then, but you know, the size of a list is not really a great concern, because if you exceed the size of the list will then double in size to accommodate the excess items. So you really don't have to worry about that. So that's a huge advantage of a list over an array, in that the size is flexible. Okay, and just like in many of our programs with arrays, we have a current index variable to kind of keep track of where we are in the list. So we have that back and next functionality. And that's it. So that's the list of inventory items. Inventory, we called it, and that represents all of the items for sale at the antique shop. And then I have a second list here to represent the cart, the user's cart, and when they want to buy an object. And then, so you can really see, and with this list in particular, you really see the advantage over arrays, because you can throw items into the cart, you can remove items from the cart. That's not something that we did really in C#1, because we were kind of stuck with arrays, and removing an item from an array, especially in the middle, from the middle of an array, is very difficult to do elegantly. Yeah, you'd have to write some kind of algorithm, and it's just kind of not worth the trouble, especially since we have the list, which makes that so easy. So we can remove items from the cart as well as add items, which we'll do in either this video or the next video. So here in the form load, I'm simply adding items to the inventory, so we can hit the ground running with a loaded inventory, and then the user can go back and next from there. So basically, we use the add method, and so for each object for sale in the store, I'm going to call the add method, create that item, using the items constructor, passing the values, like where the name of the item, the year it was, the price, and all that, the picture, and that's it. So calling the add method to add items to your list, and that's it. We have our usual update controls that will display items from the list. Now, recall the current index variable keeps track of where we are currently in the list. And this is interesting here. I want you to take a look at you are no stranger to this type of syntax. If we were to look at this line, or this highlighted part out of context, you would not be able to tell that we were talking about a list as opposed to an array. So you can treat lists like arrays syntactically, and use a lot of that familiar syntax, especially the square brackets with the index in that, to access a specific item. And so, like I said, you're no stranger to this kind of syntax. So that's why the list is a good fit for you, and it's something that you'll probably find very easy to use and easy to work with. Okay, so I guess that's it for this video. Just a couple more things. We have our next and back buttons. Nothing you haven't seen before. I did put this in a try-catch, okay? One thing I need to call your attention to, with arrays, we catch an index out of range exception when you go off the edge, or you exceed the boundaries of the array. With the list, and this is an important distinction, you catch an argument out of range exception. So try to remember that when you're doing your homework. I think I mentioned it on the homework document. So argument out of range exception is what you catch when you're exceeding the boundaries of the list. Okay, so I guess that's it for this video. In the next video, I'll talk about the cart option and how we can add items to the cart and also remove items to the cart, which is quite easy.